So right now, if you take a look at the pro wrestling industry, you will see that it's changing very much. It's changing so much that it's almost become too much. Too much wrestling isn't a bad thing, but in some circumstances it is. And WWE is actually the main problem here. If you are a fan of pro wrestling companies, let's be specific. Maybe Impact Wrestling. You get your 2 hours that you need to watch the show and get your occasional pay-per-view. You're not being slammed with content, and you don't feel overwhelmed by the amount of content that they provide. This is one of the reasons why I think Impact Wrestling has a good... I think this is why they've done a good job highlighting certain talent. Tessa Blanchard, John Morrison. But then you look at WWE. WWE has Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, Ty Dillinger, Tyler Breeze. I mean, guys, I can list 100 names in WWE, but we don't have time for that. But WWE has a huge amount of talent, and unfortunately, you wouldn't know. Because although they have so much content being distributed on a weekly basis, they are still having a very hard time finding a way to position certain superstars over others. Now, whether this is by design or not, that's up to WWE. But recently, I was watching NXT UK. And the reason for this was because when NXT originally became a thing, I was there from the very beginning, the very first episode. I was watching and supporting. And I saw what NXT evolved into. So fast forward several years, NXT UK becomes a new thing. I'm creating content on it, speculating things. I'm watching it. And I've realized that there's a huge issue here. Now, for some people, you guys may not think this is serious. For me, this is a huge problem. Now, I've always said it's a good thing to have alternative options to WWE. But now I've realized WWE is having a major problem that I'm not sure they can actually solve. And naturally, I think they're going to have a very hard time solving this because I don't think they even realize this is a problem. I can watch Impact Wrestling. I can watch ROH, I can watch New Japan and not feel overwhelmed. Yet for WWE, between the 3-hour show on Raw and between the 2-hour show on SmackDown on Tuesdays, plus NXT, plus 205 Live, plus NXT UK, I feel overwhelmed with how much they're giving out. Now, I'm feeling this way, so I have to kind of narrow my choices. Now, for the sake of the channel, obviously, more coverage, more attention should be based on the pay-per-views and what's hot, right? Like, if you're looking at numbers, you're looking at business, you're looking at things at a certain way. If you're covering pro wrestling, most people will say that you will tend to find more news or more worthy topics to discuss when watching Raw or SmackDown. Now, of course, you can add NXT into the mix in 205 Live, yet for some reason, there's an issue here. I don't find the need to cover NXT UK as much as I do Raw or SmackDown. And honestly, that's a shame. NXT UK contains some of the best quality that I've ever seen by WWE. Everything from the roster to the presentation, NXT UK feels special. It feels different. So why is there a serious problem with WWE? and more specifically NXT UK. Now, of course, being from North America, I watch NXT UK when it airs at 3 p.m. Eastern. Now, you're probably thinking, Tony, you can watch this anytime thanks to the WWE Network. And that's true. But that's also a problem. I have to get through 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown. I also want to watch 205 Live. I want to watch the WWE pay-per-views. And keep in mind, I also like to watch Impact Wrestling. So why does NXT UK get lost in the shuffle? Well, I got to be honest with you guys. I think WWE doesn't give NXT UK the attention they deserve. Yeah, on NXT you see a little bit of promotion between the two. When you watch WWE Network, you can see that they're promoting NXT UK a little bit here and there. But they are achieving over 2+ million viewers every Monday and Tuesday. And it's almost like you don't even get a mention of NXT UK. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up and the reason why I'm actually talking about this is because I've seen a lot of people say the same thing. It's almost like WWE just has all of this talent contracted to them so they can attract a different market. Yet, pro wrestling never thrives on one market. If you live in North America, if you live in Canada, US, or Mexico, chances are you like to watch all kinds of wrestling. Now, there might be a small percentage of you who say, no, I don't like to watch WWE, but I watch Impact, or whatever, vice versa. But realistically, if you're a fan of pro wrestling and you live in North America, chances are you are also looking into wrestling from other companies in other parts of the world. For me, I've really come to really enjoy ICW. I've also really come to enjoy New Japan. So why is it that WWE struggles to market NXT UK? Time zone is obviously an issue, and yes, I can watch it at any time, but what is it about WWE that doesn't give this show enough attention? And that's where I'm having a really hard time understanding this. NXT UK contains some of the best quality content on a weekly basis, but you wouldn't know. In fact, if you go to an average pro wrestling fan, a lot of them will tell you they don't even know that WWE has a show based on the UK's talent. That is sad. It's also sad because NXT UK is so good and they have so many talented superstars, 90% of them probably will never see the main roster. Now, I'm not sure if WWE did this by design. I'm not sure if WWE decided, hey, we're going to bring in guys from the UK. We're going to bring in these superstars, you know, male or female. We're going to bring in some of the very best. And we're just going to keep them there and say we got them. I don't like to always dive into reports about how superstars tend to want to leave WWE because you never know these things unless you're actually talking to them. But it doesn't shock me when I hear about superstars stuck in the mid-card who want to explore other wrestling companies because they feel stuck. Now, I've always been with the mentality that not everybody's going to be a world champion. I love Tyler Breeze. But if you think you could book Tyler Breeze and Brock Lesnar right now for the Universal Championship, that's never going to happen. Or how about my favorite thing? I always said Heath Slater was one of those guys that maybe one day if you just give him the chance and you give him the Money in the Bank briefcase, he will somehow be able to put together a perfect story. I always said you could kind of channel it like Edge. Heath Slater being the funny guy, turning into a serious guy who miraculously wins Money in the Bank and then cashes in and has a game-changing moment, a history-changing moment. To me, I've always envisioned that. And some people look at me like I'm crazy. But you have a lot of talent on this NXT UK roster that you would never know about because WWE doesn't promote them. They don't get enough love. I feel like with NXT TakeOver UK, I believe it's in Liverpool, that's going to be a sweet event. And it should be live. From my understanding, it's going to be live. Will that event do as big of numbers as NXT in America? More than likely not. Expansion is great. Wrestling is great. But WWE has overwhelmed us with so much content that you have to cut corners. And for most wrestling fans right now, because they have to choose between New Japan, WWE, ROH, Impact, even Lucha Underground, because you have to pick one, you cut corners. And most people will say that they tend to cut out NXT 205 Live or NXT UK. But right now, those three shows are the best shows that WWE has to offer. I don't know how WWE can change us. I don't know how WWE could get people excited about NXT UK. I'm sure their pay-per-view is going to be incredible. Creatively, they've been on the very best stuff right now on WWE's programming. But if WWE doesn't give them attention, if WWE doesn't shove them down our throats just enough for us to really care about it, NXT UK can very well be a failure. So if you are a fan of NXT UK, continue to support it, continue to tweet about it, continue to let the world know that you care about this product. That's the way pro wrestling works. It's the same reason why certain companies do better than others. People who are engaged will always stay engaged. That's if you can keep them engaged. My name is Tony from Destination Pro Wrestling, and I'm glad I had the chance to talk to you guys about why I feel like there is a serious problem with NXT UK. I'm not hating. This is actually my favorite show that WWE offers right now. But too much WWE has me wanting to cut corners, and I can't do that right now. And I don't want to do that right now. But with all this wrestling that they're giving me on a weekly basis, things need to change. I want to know what you guys think down below. Leave a comment, click that like button, and as always, click subscribe.